Okay, how's everybody doing this evening? I see the voting's progressing nicely. We're a little over 20% of the vote is completed. So we're getting there, and we're getting there the right way. We're getting there the way it should be done, which is, not big voters are doing this, small voters are doing this, doing it in a very democratic, decentralized way. So keep on voting. I see my friends, EOS Authority, are number one place. Congratulations to them. I saw them on the stream when they launched the chain, or they launched the software, and I said, I saw you, Roshan, on the live stream, and he said, no, that's my brother, Rohan, my twin brother. And I thought he was joking with me at first, so I went to the website. So there's Roshan and Rohan. So congratulations to both of them, Roshan and Rohan, for being in first place on the voting, and continue to vote. Also, EOS Nation is right around the top 20 spots, so continue to vote for EOS Nation. EOS UK, I see Cypher Glass in there, Shios is in there. There's a lot of great people to vote for, so just vote and keep on voting, because it's going to take 15% in order to launch this chain. And we want to get this thing launched, and we want to get it up and running, so keep on voting, and good job to everybody that's run and everybody that's doing well. I think there's going to be like 100 validators, so there's going to be a lot of people that, even if they're not in the top 20, they will be involved with the production of blocks. And I even think the top 30 continue to as standby people. So continue to vote. It makes a difference. If you're not in the top 20, top 21, in the top 50, top 100, you want to make sure you vote and you're part of this. You're still going to be receiving rewards for that. So everybody continue to vote. It's going very, very well. I think as well as can be expected, or as well as anybody can have envisioned. So, and I want to continue with that a little bit, because I want to talk a little bit about our good friends, Mr. Vitalik from Ethereum. I love Vitalik. I think Vitalik's one of the superstars of cryptocurrency. Someday they're going to erect statues for the founders of cryptocurrencies. It's going to be Satoshi, Vitalik, and Dan Larimer. I can see it now. You got Vitalik and Larimer on each side, and you got Satoshi, the unknown, in the middle. So anyway, I love Vitalik. But I saw a video with Vitalik in China, and it was kind of impressive because Vitalik speaks Chinese. So they're in the video, and I could tell the crowd was fairly pro-EOS, because somebody stood up and asked Vitalik a question about EOS. And you could hear the EOS in the Chinese. He was speaking Chinese, but you could hear EOS in there. And of course, Vitalik comes back with how it's centralized. There's only 100 nodes going. It would be easy to hack because we know who's making the nodes and all this other kind of stuff. And and he goes into all this, and he makes a very good argument because, he's Vitalik. Vitalik makes great arguments. But anyway, somebody stood up in the crowd, or actually they called him another person. The person says, "No, sir, you are centralized. You can make a decision between Ethereum and Ethereum Classic." And that's the first time I've really seen Vitalik without an answer. He didn't really have much to say. The other thing Vitalik said was pretty interesting is he talks about how proof of work is hardware, proof of stake is actually digital currency, and digital currency is a better way of going. So Vitalik says dedicated proof of stake, crypto, a currency is a better way of going. But I'll put a link to the video below. It was a great video. Every video Vitalik makes, I think, is a great video. I love Vitalik. I always hold Ethereum, and I always hold Ethereum in honor of Vitalik, because I love Vitalik. But anyway, what I really want to talk about tonight is I want to talk about, I've always envisioned this and always thought about this, because I've always been in the financial market. I've been a stockbroker, and I've raised money for a lot of companies that have gone public. Initial public offering companies have gone public. I actually even had a company that I was a founder of that we tried to take public in the 1990s, right before the whole tech bubble thing. But anyway, I've always been kind of familiar with this, kind of been interested in it. Always interested in banking. I think a lot of people that follow cryptocurrencies are interested in banking. And I thought about this, and the reason I'm involved, I'll tell a little bit why I'm involved with EOS. The reason I'm involved with EOS to this level is because I always saw that there was going to be a problem somewhere down the line with fiat currencies. That there was going to be a point where there was just no way to expand the bubble anymore. It's gotten too much out of control. I think we reached that level a long time ago, because what central bankers fear the most isn't a bubble. They fear deflation, where things retract, they go backwards. You can't recover from that. If people start not buying, holding, hoarding, that's the worst thing that can happen to the economy is hoarding. Hoarding's the worst thing that can happen. So I always thought the central bankers had to always worry about that. How to keep people going, how to keep the thing inflating, how to keep it building, how to keep it rolling. And they've done everything they can possibly do. I mean, interest rates are as low as they've ever been. They're afraid to raise interest rates. They won't raise interest rates because they know they're going to crash the economy. Mortgages will go up. People will start, there will be no lending whatsoever. You start raising because they can't afford it because there's just no money anymore for increases in interest rates or any increases in cost of borrowing. Not only that, you have in the United States of America, and I think across the world, you have a lot of quantitative easing. Quantitative easing means you're just basically throwing out more money than you've ever thrown out before. And then on top of quantitative easing, you have bailouts and all this other stuff. And there's just so much money flush that you put it out into the system and give it to the very rich. It kind of finds trickle down, is what they use, the word, to the lower, people not at the top, but at the bottom. That's why you have all the money concentrated in a few people's hands. That's why we talk about the 1%ers, the 2%ers that own everything, and everybody else is just basically struggling to make a living. But anyway, how do you remedy that problem? How do you fix that problem? Because there's nowhere to go with fiat currencies. There's no way to continue to expand the bubble. You've run out of tricks. There's no more tricks in the bag. What do you do? Well, it's interesting because I listened to Jay Clayton, our good friend at the Security and Exchange Commission, the other day, and they had a meeting. Actually didn't have a meeting. They were interviewed by CNBC, and he was talking about how Bitcoin is not a security. Now we've talked about this, the case, and I can't think of the name of the case, but it was back in 1947. It's a test to determine what a security is. It's a very broad test. Basically, if you invest expecting a return, that's a security. They even consider ICOs a security, but Bitcoin is not. They said we've thought about this, and Bitcoin is not a security. Bitcoin's not a security because it competes against fiat currencies. So they're looking for another way to expand the bubble, another way to leap into the next economy, because this economy is not working anymore. It's busted. It's broken. It's broken down. It's not going to continue. There's no way to keep expanding it. No place to go with it. You can't print any more dollars. You've got to have another way of expanding the economy. And this is what they were saying the other day. They were saying Bitcoin is not a security. It competes with fiat currencies. That's not me saying it. That's the chairman or the head of the Security and Exchange Commission saying that. And almost nobody pays attention. I mean, I could say that EOS will be the next world currency, and it's kind of like it's out there. But the chairman, the head of the Security and Exchange Commission, can say it's not a security, and it competes against fiat currencies, and we won't do anything about it because we're going to let it go. I mean, and not too many people notice it, but that's interesting to me because that tells you what's happening. There's going to be a tokenized economy. There's going to be, the next expansion is going to take place through developing another environment, another economy in tokens, in cryptocurrency. That's going to be the next. And it's happening right now, and it's happening with companies like EOS. The reason I love EOS so much is because EOS is not a singular play. EOS is a way to play multiple deals on one platform. You invest in the token, and then on top of that, you get all the airdrops, and everybody's idea expands from that. This is an economy within itself. EOS is its own economy. And when you start to understand how this is going to reach to the next level, you really can start to see why somebody like Jay Clayton from the Security and Exchange Commission does not want to consider Bitcoin a security. I mean, everything's a security. Basically, everything's a security, but they're not saying Bitcoin is because they're going to let it go. They're going to let it roll. They're going to let it. They asked him about Ethereum, and I'll put the link below to the Security and Exchange Commission interview with CNBC. I'll put it below. I mean, they talk about Ethereum. He says, "Oh, we're not going to talk about specific deals." You know why? Because they're going to choose their battles carefully. They say they're the envy of the world, and they are. I mean, the Security and Exchange Commission and the way the system works in the United States of America is the envy of the world. And they're going to pick their battles carefully. They haven't even dealt with airdrops yet. I don't even know how they're going to deal with airdrops, because in airdrop you have no exchange of money, so you don't have any place where people are putting money in hoping for a return. You're giving somebody something. So if there's no exchange of money, I don't see how there's any way that could ever be classified a security. So you let Bitcoin go, you let the airdrop go, and now you have a new economy. And now the central bankers don't have to worry anymore, because now we've got another way to expand the economy. And I think that's what's going to happen. You're going to see an expansion of the economy through the tokenization of a new economy through companies like EOS. That's why I'm in EOS. That's why I play EOS, because EOS is going to be in its own community, it's going to be its own economy, and it's going to be stuff being produced and made on EOS. That's why Mike Novogratz is in EOS. That's what he's talking about too. I mean, Novogratz sees a few things that need to take place first. Novogratz talks about a little bit about how we need to take care of the custody issue. Novogratz is probably talking a little bit about, what's going to be a security, not security. I mean, I got involved with EOS because I was thinking ICOs, but then I started learning about airdrops, and then all of a sudden I forgot about ICOs. Now all of a sudden I see airdrops as a superior way of launching a token, or launching a community. That's all an airdrop is. It's just launching a community. I mean, you're throwing something out there and you're letting people take a look at it and decide if it's worth something or not. This is community. That's what it is. It's community. And this is going to be the new economies around these tokenized communities. And this will take the place of the fiat currencies, and this will take place of the current economy. And if you're involved now, you're at the right time, at the right place, because this is just starting to take off. And EOS is going to be the first one to take off with some sort of scalability. Vitalik told you that today. I mean, the other day when he talked in China. I mean, he was all around the issue. He talked about it. And a very smart group of people were listening to him, because they understood the concept, and they understood centralized and decentralized, and they called Vitalik out on it. You can make the choice between Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. You can fork and make the decision of which fork is Ethereum. So where's the centralization at? Is it with EOS and the voting that's taking place right now in a very decentralized way, where people with maybe a very small amount of coins are going to launch this? Or is it with Ethereum, when Vitalik makes the decision whether to fork or not fork, or which fork to take? So think about it. Vitalik's actually, I think, likes EOS. I kind of suspect that from the way he talks and stuff like that. He's kind of envious of EOS. He just probably doesn't know how to shift over to an EOS type of protocol, and it's too hard once you're rolling. It's like Dan Lambert said, you can't change the car motor when you're speeding down the freeway at 80 miles an hour. You got to do it before you take off in the car. So Vitalik's caught in that position where it's going to be very hard for him to switch over, but he's trying to do everything he can with the sharding and the plasma, and all the other kind of things. We'll see. Vitalik's a smart guy. We'll see what happens. But very interesting stuff going on. This voting is exciting. If you're not following it, I would certainly start following it. Staking your coins to make the vote. We're talking about a lot of different ways to do that. I know if you do it by the command line, you got to develop a node. I know people don't want to do that. You got to interact with the chain. And you got to develop a node to do that. I think NS James does a pretty good video on that, how to do that. But anyway, there's some stuff out there. I think there's going to be more tools in the future. I think this is still going to remain a vote where people are going to continue to vote in small ways with small amounts of coins, and I don't think a big token holders are probably going to get that involved with this vote. They have no reason to. Chain's going to launch either way. Let it be launched in a way where it's decentralized and where it's in the hands of who most of the token holders want and how they vote. Very democratic way, and that's the way it should be. And that's the one thing brought out in that video with Vitalik. Somebody, when he talked about these 100 nodes, and he talked about how centralized it is, somebody said, "What? There's voting. There's voting, Vitalik. They're voted. These 100 nodes aren't centralized because they're decentralized because the token holders are voting for it." a very democratic system, a system of which, you know, anybody that sees would envy this system that Dan Larimer has put together. Anybody that understands economies and understands how voting takes place and understands economics would be envious of what he's doing now and how it's done, and how a large project like this can actually be launched so democratically in this way and still qualify for all the requirements that are required in order to do it, and to meet all the requirements and be launched this way. So anyway, a little bit of a long video tonight. Oh my gosh, I went over 15 minutes tonight. I'm really excited about this. So anyway, I appreciate you watching. Thank you very much.